advisory firm BDO, joins us now for more insight on the Greek crisis. Ferdie, thanks indeed for coming in.
Pleasure, Devon.
Well, there doesn't seem to be too much fear on the impact of this Greece crisis on banks across Europe, and I suppose this has got to do a lot with exposure, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I think the main crises potentially could be the I.M.F and the ECB and perhaps the EU as a result of that as well. But I think it's fairly contained to them, although I think Germany, France and the UK have got exposure as well.
Yeah.
But I think that's much more limited than the ECB, for instance, and the I.M.F would have.
You take a look at markets and the impact that the Greece crisis had on markets. Certainly, they have been knocked, but they haven't reached record lows that we've seen earlier this year. And this sort of gives you an idea that perhaps Europe is more equipped than the last time to handle such a crisis.
No, definitely. I think if you look at the CACs, the France and the German exchange rates, they generally went off or down over the last few days, but I think I just watched your news earlier and it's busy picking up again. I think the euro devaluated by about 2%, but I don't think it's a marked shift. I don't think it's a huge crisis at the moment. I think within the EU, if they get this thing right and the vote happens on Sunday, which is supposed to happen, it may not be a huge crisis.
I see on the one hand you have the European Commission really forcing Greece or urging them to tick yes, accept the bailout and the conditions. And on the other hand you have Tsipras here, the Prime Minister in Greece, considering, just an hour ago we got that report of him considering possibly another plan here. So is it difficult to say which way it would go? It
is difficult. I think a few of the proposals that they put forward is pension fund reform and an increase in the VAT rate. Now, some of those proposals I think is just not doable. The VAT rate, for instance, is at 23% at the moment. The maximum that they can push it to in terms of EU regulation is 25%. But that already contributes about 21% of the total revenue take. And that's way above the OECD of 1, which if you equate it percentage-wise is about 5% more. So I think there's limited scope in the proposals that the EU actually put forward to them, which makes their decision actually very difficult.
We often talk about the international or the regional impact on what's going on in Greece, but it's disheartening, for a lack of a better word, when you look at some of these pensioners and you look at people standing in queues at ATMs. This is not something that goes down very easy with the public, is it?
No, I think it's terrible. I mean, at the moment, they've got capital control. They limit daily withdrawals from ATM, for instance, to 60 euros. Yeah. Now, in South Africa, 60 euros, you can almost buy a car, but there it's not a lot of money. And that's, the banks are effectively closed, and that will not reopen probably before the weekend when Sunday they go to the vote, which I think it's extremely difficult for the Greek people at the moment.
Right, let's talk about risk aversion here and how emerging countries, and South Africa being one of them, watching this crisis unfolding in the Mediterranean part of the world. How should we be digesting this?
Personally, I don't think here on the tip of the African continent, southern tip of the African continent, it will impact us dramatically. I don't think we're that heavily invested in the financial services sector in Greece. I think the guys that need to worry is the guys closer, the French, the Germans and the Londonites. But I think all of those countries want to remain or keep Greece in the EU. It's better for them eventually if they maintain that. The problem is if they leave the EU, they may as well actually just give that money up and reduce that debt completely, which won't be, there won't be any winners there.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Ferdie Shneider from BDO, thanks very much indeed for coming in.
Devon, pleasure.